Hey, it's Peter Reedmiller from On Sports Photography with Peter Reedmiller. I'm here with my good friend, New York-born, LA-based freelance photographer Kevin Reece. How you doing today, Kevin?
Hey, Peter, man, this is a true pleasure to come on with you, guy. You and I have long known each other for years, and I saw one of your episodes, and I texted you, say, hey, man, I got to come on the show. I just got to talk with you on the show, you know.
No, this is great. I'm happy to have you. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, how long have you been shooting in LA?
Uh, I moved to Southern California in November of 1986. But I had come out a couple of times before that. I had the very first time I ever stepped foot in the state of California was right after the '84 LA Olympics. And
Okay.
I remember I did a Raiders game. I remember it was a Raiders, I think it was against the Chiefs, if I remember correctly. And then I made three more trips back out, uh, and that's when that's when about the same time I moved here in yeah, November of '86 is when I moved out here from New York. But I had been shooting for years in New York prior to that. Hmm.
So I'm just trying to figure out. So I probably met you shortly after that at a game.
Yeah, yeah,
Probably a football game. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Because
So,
remember, the Rams were still in Anaheim right about that time,
oh
and
man, they were.
yeah, yeah,
Were the
So
Raiders
I remember,
and the Raiders were in the
yeah.
Coliseum?
Yeah. And I remember riding down the 91, to Rams
Oh
games
yeah, going out
and
there.
Raiders games. But yeah. But I've been here since 1986. Go ahead.
So shooting in New York versus shooting in LA. What do you think?
Keep in mind I haven't shot in New York in a long time.
Yeah,
But of course, the main difference is the weather. I mean, let's just take NFL. NFL, it's hot everywhere in September. But come October, November, December, that's a major difference. I can remember doing. Here's something, Peter. I don't think you know this, but I know you know about this game, but you may not know that I was at the snowblower game. Now, you remember what game that
in
is?
in Denver.
No.
Oh, no, in
Remember in December of '82, if I remember correctly, it was a Dolphins at Patriots game, and the game
oh
where the work release guy was on a snowblower and he came out onto the field and cleared a spot for the field goal kicker. I think it was John Smith for the Patriots to
right,
win
right.
the game. And in fact, the game we went in nothing, went into overtime, and it was severe snowstorm. And I mean, it was frigid that day. It's called the snowblower game. And I was at that game. In fact, I still have the credential from it. And I was that's yeah, and so yeah, that's what I remember most about the East Coast shooting NFL on the East Coast. Basketball and hockey, it doesn't make a difference because you're indoors, really. But
Right.
that's the main thing that I remember about football on the East Coast. Now the West Coast, the main thing out here is that you probably get a 70-degree day in late September. I mean, excuse me, in late December. Uh,
You
and
can,
and
yeah.
you and I, yeah, both you and I have shot Rose Bowls in 75, 80-degree weather. you know,
Oh, totally,
and
totally.
yeah. So that's the big difference to me. Uh-huh.
Okay, so from '86, so you've seen a lot of Lakers. You've seen teams
Hmm.
come and go, football teams. Yeah, I because I know you're like almost at every Laker game, which I have not been for
Yes.
years. But
Yes. I've
That
had
in and of
season
itself
credentials.
is,
Yeah, I've had season credentials to the Lakers since I want to say 92. I think, yeah, 92.
wow.
I've had season credentials. Yes, yes. Uh-huh. And Clippers, by the way.
Was that when the Clippers were still in the sports arena?
Yes, yes. That's the old sports arena, man. That was the days when the Donald still owned them. And
Yes, yes.
actually, no, it wasn't that bad. I kind of liked shooting in there. It was a lot less traffic going in and out of there. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. No, I mean, I kind of grew
Okay.
up in there because my Trojans played there, so I'd been shooting there
Right,
since
right.
I was like 16 years old.
Yeah, and my
But
understanding that UCLA before they built Pauley Pavilion used to play, and of course the Lakers played in there before they built the Forum. So I understand that was a very
yeah,
busy
yeah.
place in the early '60s. Yeah,
Well, that's like UCLA played in the Coliseum before they got to deal with the Rose Bowl. So you'd have
right.
a
Yeah,
weekend where you'd have UCLA on Friday night, SC on Saturday night, and the Rams on Sunday. It was great. Those were
wow,
great,
wow,
great days.
wow, wow, man. Was the field that I mean, come Sunday, the field must have been kind of jacked up, I would think.
Yeah, they worked on it hard, but it was. But those in those days, that stuff didn't matter as much. Now
No,
everybody's field is perfect.
yeah,
I
oh,
look
it's
at these old
manicured.
pictures I have from yeah, and I look at these old pictures I have from rain games in the Coliseum, and I say, look, even on turf, you're never going to see on grass, you're never going to see a game like that with mud and everything because it's that
No,
prescription turf and it doesn't do anything. So much
no,
easier. But
no, no, no.
so
I can
so if you
remember
had
some. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say if you had a sport to first choice for a sport to shoot.
A lot of people have asked me that over the years, and I would have to say college football. Okay. To me, now that's changed recently, but I have to stick with
Very
that.
recently,
Yeah, no, no, no. I mean, what I mean by that
it disappeared.
is yeah, yeah, that and well, I'm not specifically talking about this season or lack of a season.
Hmm.
No, what I'm referring to is all of a sudden now it seems that they're giving away a lot of sideline passes to
Oh yeah,
college games,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but that wasn't the case 10, 20 years ago. But no, but I would have to say college football because there, Peter, there's nothing like covering a college football game in this country, in certain parts of the country. I mean, I've been to games where, I mean, they shut down gas stations and restaurants, you know, because of a
They shut
local
down
college football.
towns.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
get those
yeah,
small
yeah,
towns, and
yeah. See,
there's nothing. No,
I've been to Clemson. I've been to South Bend. I've been to Lansing. I've been to
East
uh,
Lansing.
uh, East Lansing. Excuse me. I've been to those places, man, and Durham, and so Pullman. I've been to Pullman. So
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
throughout the country, I've been to State College a couple of times
so
actually.
have I. That's a
So
horrible place to get to.
yeah, and that's the one I always remember because people don't realize that Penn State, the great football tradition that it has, but if you look for State College, Pennsylvania, it is literally in the middle of the state of Pennsylvania,
Oh
east,
yeah, yeah,
west, north, and south. And
yeah,
people don't
yeah.
realize that. It is literally in the middle of the state of Pennsylvania. So it is difficult to get there from. from because I drove out from New York a couple of times, and that was every bit of a 7 hour drive one way.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. No,
you know,
because you could
and
fly. I mean,
so
flying. What? Yeah.
go ahead.
Now those small towns, going into those small town games, and what would happen at Sports Illustrated was we'd get that assignment on a Monday for a game on Saturday in some place like Lubbock, Texas, and you'd start calling around to try and get a hotel. And all the people who were going to the game, they knew that game. They planned on coming to that game a year ago. So everything is
Hmm.
booked up. Same thing in Eugene, Oregon. A lot of those places you were staying far out of town. We never stayed in State College when we'd go there. We always stayed somewhere halfway down the road because there's just no place that's available. So that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
always I call it big school, small town. But
yeah. But
but no, I think I
t-
agree with you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, to me, there's nothing like the pageantry of college football. It's just nothing. I mean, to pro football is it has its good things about it. But when you talk about college football, I mean, the history of it and the pageant. To me, it has much more pageantry than any NFL game could really ever have. And the following, I mean, not to say that the NFL doesn't have following, it has a huge following. But college football to me was always my favorite. And then behind that, I would say the NBA, basketball, and then NFL, and so
Yeah.
on down the line.
No, I got to agree with you on college football. I think it is my favorite. I mean, the games that I can recall, just amazing games, and the amount of energy in those stadiums.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's unlike the NFL fans. They're good fans. They love their teams, but they just paid $750 for the seats, and you know, in LA they're out of there in the third quarter anyway, and it's just not the same. And NBA, I say NBA playoffs are exciting. But the regular season NBA to me has gotten a little bit of okay, call me in the fourth quarter sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
But
it
that's
is. Yeah,
just
it has.
that's just me. But no, I mean college games. I don't know what you can remember, but I can remember the SC Notre Dame game with Anthony Davis where they came back from
Hmm.
from like three touchdowns. I almost left that game at the half because I was so depressed by how far down SC was. And then AD came back. That's how smart I am. And then the time at
Okay.
Notre Dame when SC beat him with the Bush push, which
Yeah, yeah. Oh
I've
yeah, yeah,
never
that's
never
right. I
been a
was
big
in New
Notre
York
Dame
that
fan.
day. Yeah, I was in New York
Oh
that
man, it
weekend.
was.
Yeah, watching that. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of games that are college games that I can think right off the top of my head. I can remember. Wow. Well, both you and I were at what they these days call the greatest game of all time, Texas SC, for the national championship. Both you and I were at
Oh,
that game.
oh,
Yeah. You know.
that's
So.
that.
You know.
I call that the
But.
greatest pain of all time.
But
I mean, I had
you
shot this
know.
whole big project. Let me tell you this. I'd done this whole big 4x5 project, portraits of all the SC players, black and white,
Oh
very
wow.
Abaddon, and it was all set. We did it we did it after the season, right before Thanksgiving when they were practicing, and just got them right off the
Hmm.
practice field. And there was some, I thought there was some cool stuff, and it was scheduled to go in that commemorative issue that we were so sure was going to be published for USC, and that just it's never seen the light of day. I show it in my
Uh,
shows, and that whole day, Vince Young, Matthew McConaughey. Now I love him as an actor, but I'll never forget him on the sidelines. There, he was such a well. I've always held that against him ever since. Uh,
well, I've
yeah, that
got
was a
photos of
day.
him. I've got photos of him at other Texas games. In fact,
Oh yeah,
I was I was showing somebody else some other photos, and I think it was the last time that Texas played SC, which was what, about 2 years ago? Yeah, it's about 2 years ago at the Coliseum, right?
Yes, yes.
And I got some shots of him on the sideline, and he's standing next to this guy. And I showed the photos to some friends of mine, and I said, "Well, who's the guy standing next to Matthew McConaughey?" And nobody knew who it was. And I said, "I'll give you a hint: 7 Cy Youngs."
Oh,
And,
no, no way.
and still nobody got it. And they're like, "It's Roger Clemens."
Ah,
And
okay,
like,
okay.
yeah. And they were like, really? I was like, yeah, that's no doubt. That's Roger Clemens, And because I knew that Roger Clemens had played at Texas. And I think he won a national championship at
Ah,
Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
But
I'm
you
pretty
see, I
sure.
wouldn't
Yeah,
recognize a guy like that out of uniform, except that he's
yeah,
6'7",
yeah.
right? He's really tall.
Yeah, he's a big dude. Oh yeah,
But
in fact he's gained weight. He's gained some. But yeah, but no, and as far as college games, I mean, I can remember a college game I did at Maryland, and it was yeah, it was Clemson at Maryland. That's what it was. And they had this kid that was just tearing up, just sacking the quarterback. And I want to say the quarterback was Boomer Esiason at Maryland at the time, and sacked him about 4 times. And this kid later became, as we know, the Fridge, William Perry, you know, at Clemson. So
oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and so it's stuff like that, and I can remember. Oh, here's another one of those Penn State games I did. I actually I put my mother in the car and drove all the way out to Penn State and got there. It was Notre Dame at Penn State, and it was a rainstorm. I mean, it was a typhoon, and I remember shooting.
Uh,
Like my mom stayed in the car, and my mom had never seen anything like that before, a major college football. She had been to football games, but never a major college football game. And she was just stunned with all the RVs and all the stuff. And so she just said, "Okay, go take your pictures." And I went out and arranged them, and I shot about half that game. And I was just like, "Okay, Bob, let's get the colors go." I was about
yeah,
it for
those
that, man.
games
But
are a
I
test. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, we both noticed in the college football the increase of the number of people on the sidelines, and I think to an extent in the NFL too. And on the other hand, when you go to the NBA, they're pulling people off. Photographers at least, they're pulling you off the baseline and
Mhm.
allowing fewer people down there. But I
Correct.
think we're going to see
They,
that now.
well,
Go
that's
ahead.
what, I call it the LeBron rule, okay? Because that was, I mean, they had been trying to pull us off for a long time, but if you
Yeah,
remember,
yeah.
during the finals where LeBron got hit in midair and landed on a television camera's lens hood and cut his head
Oh,
in the
geez.
finals,
Oh,
and
I
then
do, I do, I
I remember.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I think it was the second time they played the Warriors. And I remember seeing that. I remember watching that live, and I said, "Uh-oh, the NBA now has a smoking gun." And so now they've got their proof that it's endangering the players. And so
Right.
so they really cut back on the amount of spots on the floor. Um, I think it's only 3 cameras per quadrant, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 cameras per quadrant. And so I've been shooting the NBA from upstairs for the last 4 or 5 years. I kind of lost count, and so
Yeah.
there, yeah. So I've been shooting it from upstairs, and the pictures are okay, but. it's nothing like being on the floor. But I've got 10 years, I've got really 20 years before that. So working through my archives.
I mean, being on the floor at an NBA game is cool. I mean, when you
It
smell the
is.
burning rubber from their sneakers, that
Yeah.
is something. And I did do, I only did one game. I did the seventh or the final game. I guess it was seventh of the Lakers Boston series, where the Lakers beat them.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I
I was
was
at
up
that
for
game.
that, a last minute call. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I look at that stuff because I kind of look. I'd love to show something from that game because it was a really significant game, but the pictures don't really show it. And then of course Kobe gets up on the table and faces the other way, and that was like, all right, this is not for
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. I missed that shot. That was the one shot I missed, but I got all the other celebration, all the juby. In
yeah,
the
well,
business, we
you were
call
down
it
in
the
there.
juby.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but I was at that game, and I
yeah.
still consider that one of the greatest. Really, that was actually a pretty good game because if you remember, Kobe really did not have a good game. It was
No, no.
Ron Artest or Meta World Peace, whichever he was at the time.
Yeah.
Uh, he had the yeah, whichever I think he was still Ron Artest at the time. Um, but he had an outstanding game. He really saved the Lakers that night.
Wow. Well, so now this is the brave new world, at least for a while. You've been out to the Dodgers. I have not. What's it like?
Desolate. I mean, it is to me, it is very eerie. I mean, it's just, but the interesting thing though is, if you're allowed in there, okay, and here's something interesting I found out I was there Sunday, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I was talking to the head security guy there is a fellow by the name of Al, and he also works for the Lakers. So I've known him for years, and he
I
was
think I
telling me
I
that
know who he is. Yeah.
a heavy set ball guy, and
Right.
he looks like an offensive lineman, man. You don't want to mess with that dude. And but the sweetest guy you will ever know, really. I mean, he's got a kid in college like I do. But he was telling me that the MLB dictates that you cannot have more than 350 human beings in that stadium at any time. So, and that
Wow.
counts the players, media, maintenance staff, security, and yeah, front office staff, and and that's it. And I doubt there was even, to be honest with you, I don't even think there was 200 people in there. In a stadium that
Wow.
holds 56,000. So it's very eerie. To me, it's just very eerie. But the thing is, though, if you are granted access, uh, it's like you would
Mm-hmm.
think you were at a normal game. You would think that because they've got the scoreboard going, they've got the walk-up music going, they've got the announcer going, and they play the music. The organist is still there, and they play crowd noise based on the situation. If the
Oh, they
guy
do because
moves around,
I was going to ask about
oh yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, you would think that you're at a game. You would think that you're sitting there at a
If you
game
closed your
drinking
eyes,
beer and eating peanuts or a Dodger dog. Okay, you really would.
but you can't
But
buy beer or peanuts or Dodger dogs.
no, no, there's not. Oh, by the way, they completely shut down the press box. Can't.
I
The
yeah,
only
I'd
one.
heard that. I think. Yeah.
No, it's completely shut down. The only ones allowed in the press box are operations and broadcasters, and that's it. Nobody else.
Wow.
The
Wow.
writers, the writers on the loge level And photographers like me are on the field level shooting from you remember where the risers used to be on field level
Yeah,
at
yeah, the
Dodger Stadium.
handicapped. Yeah, yeah.
Right,
No,
right,
I
correct, correct.
liked it
Yeah,
up
that's
there,
so did I.
especially on a hot
Especially
day.
on a July Sunday game. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'd be up there
that's
after
about
about
the
2 innings.
yeah, that was the only shade available in the whole place, So
Yeah,
yeah, me and Mark Terrell used to go up there all the time, and but that's where we're shooting from right now.
yeah,
And the problem with that is that we have, as you know, I think, and I'm pretty sure almost all major league stadiums now have netting all the way down to the foul poles.
yes,
Uh,
they do.
yeah,
They do.
like in Japan, like in Japan and Korea, and so it's hard to shoot through that. And some guys are getting better results than I am, but I'm having a difficult time with it, and so got to do best you can right
Do you?
now. Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. Do you find your AF picks up that netting a lot? Is that the problem,
uh,
or is it soft?
no, it doesn't pick up the netting, but the players are not as sharp as they could be or should be. Like
Sure.
every other frame is sharp. The old expression, sharp enough to cut your fingers on it. And
Yeah,
they're not as sharp enough to cut your
it's not
fingers
that.
on it. But yeah, it's in focus, but it's not sharp enough to cut your fingers on
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's as I said, I did like that angle, but that was before the netting went up, and I think it's
it. Yeah,
really a
oh, it's
good angle
beautiful. I
for
loved
getting
it.
plays.
Yeah,
But
and
it
you know what
does
it
does
also reminds me of? It also reminds me of, if you look back in the old classic baseball photos, a lot of them were shot like that. And you can cut when you shoot from that angle, you can cut out a lot of signage in the background. It's
yes,
nine times out of ten, it's pretty
clean
much
background.
all green field. Yeah, clean background, right? So but that's one of the reasons why I always loved it. And you really get, especially if there's a good play at the plate, which is rare. I mean,
Yeah,
I've always said,
these days, yeah,
if you had yeah, if I always said, well, even back 10 years ago, I said, if you had 10 or 15 plays at the plate in a season, that was a lot, and
and then
so
then
that's
out
what
of
you have.
that, you get blocked on 7 of them because of the coach or the
Yeah,
bat boy or
yeah,
something.
yeah. What I used to call it, ump ass, and or ref ass,
Yeah,
you know. Let's excuse the French, but like I said, I'm gonna keep this clean, Peter.
yeah. It's a family program. Yeah,
Yeah, family program. I know all the millions of viewers that you have. I realize that we have
right,
some minors in there.
right, right. Yeah,
This is going on ABC, right?
yeah. And ESPN. They're kind of
At
the same, but
ESPN, right, right. Yeah, yeah, that's right. They are, right, right. Capital cities, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah,
No, Disney. Doesn't Disney own both of them? I think Disney
they're all
owns them,
Disney.
right?
Yep, it's all the mouse.
Right, right, right. Yeah, 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 yeah. So no, we'll keep this clean.
So it appears that from everything I hear that we will be up at football too, which again it can be a good angle if you're covering the game. If you're going for individual action like the AP wants me to do, I'm not sure that I was discussing it with one of my editors today. Are the clients really going to want those pictures? I mean, that's a real question. If you just have to get the plays, and if if they police the sidelines or keep people back far enough, the people who are down there, that they're not blocking you on the touchdowns, then you've got a wide open field. But it's just different. It's just different.
Well, again, you and I talked about that. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and I don't have a problem with shooting football from a higher angle. I did, I think, 3 Super Bowls like that, and
Mhm.
I guess my question though is whether we're going to have roving or are we just going to be locked into one spot and that's it. Are we going to have roving? If it's roving, I personally I think it's great. But
Yeah,
if we have to
yeah,
lock into one spot, that might be a problem. But I don't have a problem with it. And again, it's going to be really eerie shooting a game in this new stadium and not a soul in it other than us,
yeah,
and that's going to be so eerie, especially football,
yeah, yeah.
and Peter, I'm going to take it a step further. What the Pac-10 and the Big Ten have already proven my point, but I don't see how they're going to play football. Period. I just don't. I know everybody wants it, and we need it, but and I
Hmm.
know the NFL is going full steam ahead, but based on what we're seeing, and based on the numbers, and based on the reports that we're getting, and by the way, the SEC is going to shut it down too. And so is the ACC. I mean, I don't see how they're gonna. I don't see how they're gonna. I
It's
mean,
money.
I
It's
can give
money,
you my
especially for those schools that don't have the big endowment like the SCs and the do. I think that's the thing, but it's money for the NFL, and it's like
yeah, but
if you look at soccer, they English Premier League they played, you know, they played because that's what the money. There's so much money involved in that, even I think more than the NFL, that they were going to play no matter what. But the amazing thing to me is those players don't seem to get sick. And they certainly don't do any social distancing. The soccer players. I mean,
no,
somebody scores a goal, they still hug and
yeah, and
pile on each other. They're
they
just
grab
like
what
they
they
were.
tear their shirt off and throw it.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So,
know,
so I don't know what's going to happen with the NFL. I mean, I think if the players start getting sick and they hear about all this stuff about long term effects, you're going to see him
yeah,
go, oh no, But then you got guys who play or die. I mean, they're those guys who just want to play. They want to make their money. Not the big stars, but the lesser stars. And they're going to try. It's just I agree with you. I'll be. I mean, I'm sure the NFL will start the season, but I will be surprised if they get to week 17. I'll be
yeah.
surprised. Things
Well,
could
and I
happen.
also heard. I know I heard Adam Schefter the other night talking on ESPN, and he brought up the point that, and it looks like it's going to shape up like this, that there's not going to be any college football. So that means, and it's certainly, I don't think there'll be any high school football across the country. Uh,
Some
so
states,
that
some
means,
states are playing it.
really, high school football. Okay, well, I stand corrected.
Texas,
Uh, but
Pennsylvania,
okay,
or
okay.
they're going to
Well,
try.
but
They're going to try.
the point is that that would free up Friday and Saturday nights, so the NFL could slip those games into Friday and Saturday nights. They don't all have to jam them
Yeah.
all into a Sunday. So they'll take up that free time on a Friday or a Saturday. So we'll see. I mean, because as you know, fans are not going to be traveling, so they're not going to be booking hotels like they normally do with NFL teams
Right. Right.
and so on and so forth. So we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. Time will tell.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I guess the number one thing is can the NFL players keep themselves out of strip bars? That seemed to be the undoing of.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was talking to somebody about that same thing, and this reporter this female reporter that I know, that will remain nameless, but she said, like, of all the sports, the NFL players are the most scandalous. And she said, I don't see
Yeah.
how it's gonna work. She said, of all the sports, and
Yeah.
I said, yeah, you're kind of right about that. you know, so by the way, I want to tell all your viewers, all the millions of viewers that you have, Peter, that you and I have been very good friends for a long time, and I have sat on your
Long time.
couch many times
Yes,
and
yes,
had
you have.
wine in your house, so I just want to tell everybody this is a great man. This is a great guy, man.
Well, you too, Kevin. You've been a good friend, and we've known each other a long time. We've had a lot of, we both get to these games early, and we've had a lot of time to talk to each other, and a lot of time when you
Yeah,
come over, when you come by. So, no, it's good, it's good, and I'm really glad that you were able to come on today. Anything
yeah.
else that crosses your mind? Anything that you got some thoughts on?
Well, how much time we got? I mean, like,
We got as long as this
uh,
is my show, man. It's
okay, well, okay, okay, all right. Well, I would like to. Uh, Two things that come to mind. I would like to tell you about my background and how I got into sports photography in general,
yes,
and
yes.
how I got back to where I am now. Um, uh, you know, my mother, God rest her soul. My mother used to have a, I think it was a, I want to say it was a Yashica rangefinder. I can't even tell you what model it was because I was only 7 or 8 years old at the time. But I used to pick up her camera and start playing with it, and that's kind of how I started with my fascination with the art form. And my father never took. My father never. I never saw my father pick up a camera. Period. So uh, he could tell you anything about a camera, but my mother was very much into it. And so I used to take her photos, and every Christmas and Thanksgiving when our family got together, she would show photos or slides. Now you can remember when slide projectors used to take one slide at
Oh
a
yeah,
time, and those
right,
things
right.
got to be 500 degrees, and you
Yeah,
couldn't even touch the slide projector because they got so hot,
yeah.
and so I remember. By the way, I still have those slides to this day. But that kind of got the wheel rolling. And then I took a class in junior high school, no, a photo club. It was a photo club. And then when I got to high school, uh, God blessed me with a high school photography teacher by the name of Carl Mackauer, who recently passed about 2 years ago, but he was truly my mentor in high school. And he put me in his class when I was supposed to be a junior or a senior, but he let me in his class as a sophomore. Okay,
Wow.
and that's when I the bug really hit me, and I remember like for the first time going in a dark room and watching that photo come up before my eyes, and really my life has really
That's a
not been the
moment.
same since. Yeah,
No,
yeah, it really
no.
hasn't been the same since, and
That's a moment.
so I just want to talk about him for a moment and honor his spirit because this was a man that really took interest in me. Had kids my age, you know, uh, his own, and but he took me to my very first photo show in I think it was the Guggenheim Museum in Manhattan, if I'm not mistaken. Now
Wow. Wow.
I had been to many art shows where my mother used to take me to Lincoln Center all the time, but that was the first time I had ever been to a photographic show. And he was the one who took me and about six other students, I kept in contact with him all my life until he passed about 2 years ago. And when my father died in September of '87, he invited me and my mother over for dinner, and we had dinner with him and his wife. And fast forward, when I had my show, when I was in a group show in New York about 3 years ago, he came to that opening night. He brought his grandson to that show that night
Uh-huh.
in the pouring rain, might I add. So
That's love.
yeah, no, that was yeah. You're right. That's a very good way to describe it. Love and respect. and unfortunately didn't know it at the time, but that would be the last time I saw him.
Ooh.
And so I just want to just say how much of a mentor he was. And as far as me getting into the business, my road was a little different, Peter. My cousin was doing Robert, who actually passed about a year and a half ago in Washington, D.C. But for years, he was doing sports on WHUR in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And um, he saw that I was doing photography and I had taken a couple of photos at my high school basketball game. And he said, "Look, I'm going to get you a photo pass." Now, Peter, in those days, the the requirement or the protocol for credentials is not as stiff as they are today. So it was a lot different.
No, no, not
And,
exactly.
yeah, and so I can still think about a radio station asking for a photo credential, which I don't think works these days. But he got me my cousin Robert literally got me my very first credential. Okay. And that was to the 77 NIT in Madison Square Garden. Okay.
Wow.
That was the very
Cool.
very first credential I ever had. And in those days they played the whole tournament in Madison Square Garden. They didn't
Right.
play it
I
in
remember that.
remote
Yeah.
places. Right, yeah.
Wow.
And so that was and then I just kind of took it from there, and I, submitted to magazines, and one thing led to another, and I started getting credentials to NFL games and NBA games. And really quick, I'll tell you that I was talking to my buddy the other day about the very first uh, Jets game I ever did. And I'm a staunch New Yorker, man. I'm a Jets, Knicks, and Yankees fan. And uh, the very first Jets game I did was in Shea Stadium uh, in 1980 against the then Baltimore Colts. And the Colts had Burt Jones and Roger Carr and Lydell Mitchell and Freddie Cook and those dudes, if you
Oh,
remember,
Lydell Mitchell. Yeah.
Fred Smearless.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
uh, and right across the street, same day, uh, men's finals, U.S. Open final was Borg and McEnroe, right across the street. So it was a
Good
crazy
way
day.
to
That was
start.
my very
Yeah.
first Jets
Yeah.
game.
Well, it sounded like you got. I think everybody, a lot of us, had somebody and a couple of people in our life who gave us the love and support to get going. And I had a great photo teacher in high school, and a couple of other people who really got me along. And I don't think you get into this career and really get successful in it unless you have some people like that, be they family, friends, teachers, whatever, whatever. But one last thing I want to talk about is, Kevin, you got a book. I
Yes.
have it right here. Hello. Let's see if I can get it in there.
Oh, there you go. There you
Yes.
go. Yes.
There
Yes.
we
Thank
go.
you, Peter.
Special days and special
Yeah.
nights. And you can get this. You can order this off Blurb, and they'll send it right to you. And
Yes.
it's cool stuff. It's a lot of stuff that you've done and over the years.
Yes. Yes. It what it is it's a photo book of special nights and days. It's all commemorative photos. There's no action photos in it whatsoever. Okay. It's stuff like Vince Scully's last game, Kobe's last game, uh, the night that they honored Bill Walton. I was in Boston Garden the night they honored Bill
Oh
Walton.
my gosh!
Uh,
Wow!
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Not
Wow!
rookie of the year. Excuse me. Six man of the year. Uh, I
Yeah.
was in Fenway, and I didn't know going in, but I was in Fenway Park the day they retired Carl Yastrzemski's number. Okay,
Oh,
I
geez.
was
Wow.
also, yeah, I mean, it's chock full of stuff like that. And you were probably at most of those games, where, especially in San Francisco, where they honored Ronnie Lott and Joe Montana
So,
when they
yeah,
got into the
yeah,
Hall of Fame in 2000. And then
yeah.
retired Steve Young's number. And I put them in chronological order. Okay, and so there's a lot of Lakers, and most of them all are West Coast, but the ones that I really like are the ones like when I was in Cleveland. Um, Again, I didn't know going in. That was a Browns Steelers game, and they had all Hall of Famers there, Browns Hall of Famers there that day.
Oh,
You know,
man.
Leroy Kelly and Otto Graham and Frank Gatsky and Lou Groza and Bill Willis and all of those guys, man. Paul Warfield. I forgot that Paul Warfield was actually drafted by the Browns, and he later went to the Dolphins. I forgot about that.
Okay, well, that was my good friend Kevin Reece. He's got a million stories. We just scratched the surface there. Again, thanks for listening. Subscribe. It really helps, and you'll find out everything that's coming, and it doesn't cost you a thing. And stay safe and good shooting. I want to thank my friends at GF Crew for making this video possible. If you want to make money shooting action sports, check out GF Crew. Go to gfcrew.com to join. It's free. They have a whole process and an app set up to help you make money shooting sports. Check it out. Get started today.